new nickname was the Scary Google Lady. So, I'm hoping not to scare anybody, but we do need to know where Google's going so we can best protect our businesses. It was working and now it's not. Man, this is not gonna go. Let's see if this works. All right, we'll try it. So where is Google going? Anybody know where the picture was taken? I think it's Arches in Utah. But I thought it was a cool picture because Google goes on these crazy treks and they go down paths and then they decide to backtrack and undo things and then try new things. So we're going to cover today, I want to start with what the anatomy of a basic name search is. So at least we're all talking apples to apples. Because sometimes we're talking about Google and it isn't what it is. It isn't what you think it is. So if you're sitting in front of a desktop, we're not on mobile right now, but if you're sitting in front of a desktop and you type in your property name, the one thing I want everybody to get today is that Google is sending traffic a variety of ways, and those ways are changing. So I want you to create a visual vertical line every single time you're in Google. And I want you to think there's the left side of that line and there is the right side of that line. Because on the left-hand side, it's about your website. On the right-hand side, it's about your Google business profile. And you do different things to market both sides. Now, on the left, you have Google Ads, not to be confused with Google Hotel Ads. Those are ads that have been around forever. When I was still a teammate, I bought those ads, the one that I have circled up there. On the left-hand side, you are going to see your own property, hopefully, because if you typed your property's name, you should see your property. That's all organic. Remember the old days? You do a website, do all your SEO, get your inbound links, get the right words on the right pages, get the titles, descriptions, all of that stuff. That's the left side of this screen. It really has very little to do with what's up on the right-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side of the screen, there is a link to your website, but that is not controlled by the power that's built into your design. That's just a link to your website as you key it into your Google business profile. This is the meta search area where everybody is more than happy to sell your rooms for you. Oops, let's go back a second. And
is this echoing for you all? Is it echoing or it's good? Thank you.
so this is the meta search area. Google Hotel Ads show up on the right-hand side. So make sure you've got your terminology correct. The let's see if I've got a pointer. Maybe I don't. Oh, look, I do. It sort of works. So this is your Google Ads, and your Google Hotel Ads will show up over here. So you got to know if you're going to be spending money, where you're spending it. All right, so why should you care about Google? So let's just cut to the chase. It's about the money. And you have to have your analytics installed properly to track right. It's very deliberate. You do not just leave this up to your webmaster. You get involved and make sure what you need to have it tracked is being tracked right. And Google does not track online travel agencies. Who in here knows why they don't track OTAs? Anybody? Oh, please. Yes. Yes, the OTAs do not want anybody to come to your website. And your analytics are only going to track if they go through your website. So if the OTAs never put a link to your website, they're never going to show up in your analytics. Perfect. Now, this is just a simple search. It's acquisition all traffic source medium. That's all this is in analytics. And this, I sorted out Google because I want you to see why we're talking about Google. Google was, and if you can see in the little tiny print, you may not be able to, but Google was 70% of all traffic sent. And Google was a little more like 71 or 72% not want to pay attention to them? Of course you do. So let's just briefly go over what Google can track for you. Oh, no, it's not giving me here. All right, so I'm gonna go over here. Does that say Google Organic? That is the left-hand side of the screen. So when somebody clicks your website, Google Organic is the left-hand side of the screen. Then we've got, somebody tell me what that says. Is that Google pay-per-click? Google My Business, thank you. That's Google My Business. That's the right-hand side of the screen. But it'll only separate it out if your webmaster has coded it to separate it out. If they didn't code it to separate it out, it's all going to be under Google Organic. Then we have Google, what does that one say? Pay-per-click. So that is the left-hand side ads, and then that is the right-hand side ads. So you have to know what you're looking at when you're looking at Google. And hey, Eric, if you can get somebody to get the PowerPoint to actually change on the laptop, that sure would help me, because it's just changing up here now. All right, so if you know Google 70%, you know that it comes from the left-hand side of the screen, you know it comes from the right-hand side of the screen. It comes from ads on the left-hand side of the screen, it comes from ads on the right-hand side of the screen, and it all adds up to 70%, and you know how much money you're making. Now you have data to make decisions with. Questions? Everybody with me? All right. I went ahead and took a list of my clients who we've been tracking separately, the GMB side, the right-hand side, that website button. In 2019, you can see that the left-hand side is green, the right-hand side is blue. The website traffic was higher in 2019. Then in 2020, it started to flip, and you started getting your Google My Business side of the house to be bigger. And then in 2021, you ended up even bigger, and I expect this year to be even bigger. So organic is the left-hand side of the screen, and local is the right. Whether it's the knowledge panel, it's the Google Travel section, or it's maps. So why do we think people are looking at the right-hand side of the screen instead of the left-hand side of the screen? Pictures, it's one of the reasons. Other ideas? Mobile, because this is the stuff that gets seen on mobile above everything else. So even though when you're looking at desktop, the organic's on the left and the Google My Business is on the right, but in mobile, it flip-flops. So your guests are seeing this data on the right first. So as this continues to grow, where should you be spending your marketing dollars? Should you be spending them on the left-hand side of the screen, really on your website? And maybe you should be, but maybe you should be spending a little more time on that Google Business Profile and managing your local side of the world, because it may be the one that's growing. Now, this is just a culmination of 30 or so of our properties. You gotta look at your own. And if you have not coded your own site so that you know that that website button is tracked differently than what's on the left-hand side of the screen, you have no idea what's going on. So it has to be coded properly. If you don't have it coded properly, you can't make these decisions, but at least you can walk away with, hey, Lisa said in general, it's going on. All right, so why do you need to care? Because it's going to cost you money if you're not putting your money in the right places. Should you be putting your money into organic, your website, your SEO, your on-page titles, descriptions, keywords? Well, keywords are dead, but you know what I mean. Or do you want to spend it on marketing to the local side of Google, going through Google Business Profile, and making sure that you are making Google as satisfied as you can by passing your revenue properly for the right dates? You don't want to pass data that's all 2-night minimums if Google has a 1-night minimum. You have to use a strategy to maximize the right-hand side of the screen. So, we all want reservations, obviously, but we want them through direct bookings. Do we want them through OTAs? Maybe. week, and he gets a lot of foreign travel. He can't dump the OTAs because the folks he has coming in are coming through Expedia. So everybody's a little different. You really have to work with your marketing firm to figure out how do you get this broken down. Now, I have a what if. The what if is next. So what if your entire web presence, okay, now this is what we do when we talk with our clients. We say, how many of your bookings are direct? How many are coming through the online travel agency? And how many are coming through phone or email bookings? And let's just say this inn made $1 million, because it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to do the math. So this inn made $1 million. So if they made $1 million and 70% of the bookings via the booking engine were 70%, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars did they make out of $1 million? This is not scrolling. 700,000, very good. Now, if 15% were OTAs, how much money did they make through OTAs? 150. So let's take a look at this. Oops. Okay, if 18%, because that's about what you pay in OTA, times $150,000 is you pay $27,000 for the pleasure of having the OTAs give you bookings. Isn't that awesome? Now, let's flip-flop this and say, what if? So what if we flip-flopped them? What if the OTA bookings were at 70% and your direct bookings were at 50%? And don't, it's okay, we'll just keep going. If I can't see something, I'll ask one of you guys out there to help me. What if we flip-flop them? So now the OTAs are at 700,000. Look how much more they would be paying to the OTAs to even utilize the system. It's like $100,000 more. What could you do with $100,000? So the question here is, do you guys know, out of your 3 buckets, how much are your OTAs, how much are your direct bookings, and how much came through phone or email? And I have seen innkeepers who are on that right chart. They literally are getting 70% of their bookings from the OTAs. That's $100,000 that you can spend to learn about how to drive your direct bookings. That's a lot of money. So, when you get home, do the math. Do a year. Do this you do last year, do before COVID. And then figure out how much of that 100,000, or how much could you play with if you tried to transfer over some of those OTA bookings. Now again, everybody's different. If you have a lot of foreign travel, you are going to have to be careful with this. All right. Now, Google has separated the travel industry from all other industries. If you sat in any of my aspiring or my new owner classes, you've heard this. So I have 2 little peanuts sitting in a separate area. There's a chasm between the 2. On the left, if you go into Google and you do a search for plumbers, doctors, lawyers, you're going to have that kind of result. It actually has a website button. We don't have those things. They won't give them to us. And as soon as you click over to the travel side of the industry, there's no website icons. There's just pricing. Where does the pricing come from? OTAs, 2 more places. Second place? Excellent. Google Hotel Ads, last place. TripAdvisor. That's where they come from. If you don't have availability per room, per night, being passed, so when I said you have to work on your local side, this is what I'm talking about. If you're not managing your revenue, you're not managing your inventory, then you're not going to get seen. You have to manage your inventory. So on the left, if I were to click more, I think it's lawyers, then it would just stay in Google search. But if I were to click more hotels, it leaves Google search. And we are now put in a separate bucket called Google Travel, where Google can do what they want with you because they're now separated out from everybody else. Did you guys know that? New information? Okay. So when you're separated out, we now have to play the game. So, I grayed out the left-hand side. So on the right-hand side, we just did a search again for the Eagle in California. And when I click more information down here, give me more ratings, I get to Google's travel directory. It kind of looks like a website. I've got rooms. No, it says prices. So I've got prices. I've got the overview, which by the way has the little tiny website button right there. That's the GMB if you separate it out. I've got reviews. And again, if you're going to your Google My Business listing, and I keep calling it that, it was renamed 3 weeks ago to Google Business Profile, but I have a hard time remembering that. If you don't have access, you can't write any management reviews. Then you've got location, you've got an about page, and you've got photos. You need to keep this all updated. You guys do realize that your guests can put in photos. So you really should keep an eye on it. You might end up with a photo you don't like, so. I had, I think it was in the aspiring class, a gentleman said, well, somebody loaded a photo, but it's sideways and it looks goofy. And he said, can I fix it? And I said, no, you just have to call the person that did it and ask them to please, adjust it. Thank them for contributing, but just have them fix it, because you can't adjust somebody else's photos. So, Google wants to control your sales. That's why we're now sitting in the travel directory, because they make what they have kind of like a little website here. So they want to control the sales. Now, why are they doing this? Because they want your money. They just want to reach right on out of the computer and take your funds. So, this is why it's so important that you know where your bookings are coming from, so you can choose your money wisely. So, organic, left-hand side of the screen. Local, right-hand side of the screen. Google Ads, top of the left-hand side of the screen. Google Hotel Ads in the meta section on the right-hand side of the screen. And there's paid, there's free, and you want to make sure you're tracking it so that you can go in and make those decisions. Now, who here has been beekeeping long enough that you've gotten one of those emails that says, I can get you to #1 in Google? Yeah. It isn't possible. It is not possible. Because now there is no #1. It's all date driven. If you don't put in, if you put in May and you have availability, you're going to probably be a little higher than if somebody puts in June and you're closed or you're full. It's all date driven. Then it gets even more complicated. Desktop results are not the same as mobile. And mobile aren't the same on mobile apps versus mobile search engines. Everything's different. There is no such thing as first anymore. So you have to kind of have an understanding of where you could be first and look at them. So, it's all date driven. The knowledge panel holds information when it's date driven. It's over there on the right. We talked about that. The 4-pack, when you go in to see more information, the 4-pack has all those dates on them. Maps have dates. The travel section has dates. It's all going to change based on your availability. And here's a hint. If a guest is looking for a 1-night minimum and your reservation software is passing data with a 2-night minimum, are you going to be seen? So you have to be careful. Maybe your strategy includes 1 room with a 1-night minimum, so you always have dates going through and push you to the top, push up a little higher. Okay? All right, so your name search. Remember how we were doing name searches? You pretty much should always be #1. Localization and personalization are going to influence your results. Localization means that if I'm sitting here on my iPhone and I'm looking for a place to stay tonight, I'm going to see different results than if I would be doing it from Colorado Springs. It's where you are locally, located. So that's going to be different. Personalization is Google's big brother, and they track everything you do. So if you're still logged on your Google account or you haven't cleared your cache and cookies, you're seeing what you already looked for, and Google's trying to customize what they give you as results. Desktop and mobile, they're going to be different. And mobile results are going to be different versus the app versus the browsers. there's no such thing as first. You just want to make sure that you understand how to be as high up as possible at all times. Okay. Now, here is the Google Maps app display, and here's the Google Safari display. They look different. You're going to see different pricing. I mean, they're not even the same. And Google's been messing with Google Hotel ads. Jeff from Redstream and I were on a panel in Cabby last week, and he came over and we're like, look what Google's doing. They're putting up the free ads in the paid section. And that was like 2 days ago. And he's like, they took them away. That was yesterday. Today, they're back. And it's like, oh my gosh, they just keep changing stuff. But if you don't even have a handle on the basics, you're not even going to know the subtleties of the changes. So just know, your desktops are different than your mobile, and your mobile's different whether it's an app or if it's your Safari search options. Now, I want to talk about secure sites. Is everybody here on a secure server? Does anybody not know what that means? Don't be afraid to ask, I'll tell you. Okay, everybody knows what a secure site is. It all says HTTPS. We're going back to analytics for a minute. If you want your Google Analytics to track properly, all those inbound links you have coming to you from your local associations, B&B Finder, TripAdvisor, any place that links to you, if it does not say HTTPS on the inbound link, you are probably losing data. If we're making decisions based on data, you want these inbound links to be right. So, are you hosting on a secure server? Because if you're not, your guests are going to see things like this, and you're going to lose business. So if you're not on one, which your case if you were, just know if you see somebody who isn't, you're probably going to see an error message. And then who's going to click on it? No one. So verify that you're on a secure server. Now, if you want to be a little techie here, go to webpagetest.org, because it's not just about being HTTPS. It's making sure that all of your website, including all of its plugins, are that are working okay. If you run your website on webpagetest.org, if anything is not in green if it's yellow or red, get a hold of your webmaster and say, hey, I think I have a security problem. It may not be putting up that error message, but it could be causing other issues. So make sure that you don't have any problems with your online presence. All right, more tips. Google My Business, which is now called, yay, Google Business Profile. You've probably seen this before. You put in your hours, you put in your, the phone number to call, etc. I whited out everything to protect the person who had the problem. Do you see right here what's missing? So, this is the website button. Do you think it's tracking in Google? It's falling into the direct bucket. So all of your inbound links, I'm just giving you one example, all of your inbound links need to say HTTPS. Otherwise, in Google, they're going to fall into the direct bucket. If they're in the direct bucket, and they shouldn't be, you're losing tracking that you can make quality decisions on. So all of your inbound links, think of all of your directories, think of every place that you have your website address placed out online, and you can just do a search for your name, you'll find them. Go fix them so that you get more quality Google Analytics data. Then your marketing firm can help you make better decisions. I've seen some people who have 50% of all of their traffic in direct. I'm losing at least 30 of it. I need that 30 back so I can help them. Okay. Now, Google Business Profile Manager instead of Google My Business. This is an article that came out from Search Engine Land, and I'm going to give you guys the snapshots of all this so you can read the article. But this is how you get to your Google My Business. So if indeed your traffic and your business is coming from that right-hand side of the screen, this is where you need to concentrate some effort. Who has logged into Google My Business in the last 30 days? Good job. The rest of you guys, when you get out of here or later this evening, go to https://business.google.com, log in, and fill in anything you're missing. Because Google just keeps changing this, they keep updating it, and you need to keep it updated with your information when they give you an opportunity to say more things. The other cool thing about what Google's doing is that you don't even have to log in the Google Business. It'll automatically bring it up on the screen if you're logged in when you search for yourself. So they're making a shortcut for you, but you have to be logged in. Now, you don't want to be logged in if you're testing placement, but if you're just working and you're logged in, it'll be right there on the screen, which is kind of nice. It's a shortcut. All right, Google Posts. Who in here has done a Google Post? One. And hands. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Google Posts is something that Google has allowed for many, many years for every single other industry except for hotels and bed and breakfasts. They let cabins and cottages do it, but not us. Well, they finally kind of got around to this about 3-4 months ago, and they let you do it, but then they took it away again. But it's back. I think it's back to stay, I hope. So what is a Google Post? So I did a snapshot. See this stuff down here at the bottom? That's a post. And you can go out on your Google My Business listing. Again, if we're trying to work on that right-hand side of the screen, this is something you can do. You can post information about your property that pops up when somebody sees your Google My Business listing. Now, you do your posts through your Google My Business account, so that's why you have to be able to get into it. Now, you can only post Google Posts for informational purposes. They do not want you posting deals or promotions, because if you do, you'll probably get tossed. That's why they never let you do it, because they don't want somebody finding you on their Google My Business listing and then linking to you booking a room if they can't sell to their OTAs. So, it's interesting that, well, here's the article, you guys can read the whole thing, but it basically says you can create Google Posts to provide relevant, timely information to your customers. Things like COVID, information and renovations and events, but you may not do offers on your posts. So if you do, they may just not let you do it anymore. So when you get home, your to-do list, take a picture and go share a post and see how many people look at it, because there's analytics on this stuff. It's down here, it's these two things, the one with the red bow and the one with the lavender. Those are the posts at the bottom. Where do you find it on your site? Google My Business. It's google.com/business, that link I gave you. It's on the left-hand side of the navigation. Yes, he is. But some people live on the edge. Actually, Will works for us. He's like, I'm going to see how long it takes him to dump it. Okay, great. Let's see. Yeah, and just be careful. I mean, maybe they don't catch him and they haven't caught him yet, but they might. So don't be too blatant if you're trying to do something like that. Start off with what you're supposed to do. And then if you want to, try sliding something in. Usually you can do one and get caught and say, ask for forgiveness and get undone. But posts are awesome. I've been able to use posts on the Acorn site for many years. It's just great that they're letting you guys do it now. So, the local search ranking factors. Again, if we feel like the right-hand side of the screen is growing, how else can you grow that side of your business? Local search ranking factors is a report that is done yearly, and it is now being handled by White Spark. It was originally started 10 years ago by David Nim, and we are actually part of this. It's been handed over to Darren Shaw. There's about 42 experts who are asked a series of survey questions every year. Most of the experts on this panel are not lodging professionals. There's only 3 of us. Mary Bowling is on it, I'm on it, and there's a gentleman in the United Kingdom who is on it. But all the rest of the 39 of them are people who market to car dealerships and doctors and plumbers and lawyers, and they do not have the problems that we do in our lodging industry. So, it is a go-to resource, and I've got the link here. I would encourage you, if you're trying to build up that right-hand side of the screen, these are people who have written information to help you think about what can I do to grow that side of my business. It's a good article. And then in my article is the link to the whole report. It's very lengthy. But these reports have been done for a decade plus. All right. I want to talk about website load time. So we've been talking about placement, but what happens if somebody comes and finds your mobile site and they click it and it doesn't load fast enough? What are they going to do? They're going to move on. So Google gives you some tools so that you can test your load time. Their first test is their pagespeed.web.dev. And you're going to want to try to aim for green, but yellow is fine if you have things on your site that you need to sell a room. If you are in yellow for no reason, then get your webmaster to fix it. But if there's a reason that it's slower, say you've got a plugin you have to have and that plugin is slowing down your site, Google says that's fine. But if it's just slow without a reason, see if they can speed it up for you. Then, this is their newer test. It's called thinkwithgoogle.com/feature/test-my-site. And you can see that they expect, oh, it came out funny. They expect the site to load in under 2.5 seconds. If it doesn't load in less than, let me back it up so you get the links. If it doesn't load in 2.5 seconds, then you don't get good. So Google wants you to be fast. You need to be fast. If you're not being fast, your guests are not going to enjoy it, and they're going to leave. So I have all these tests on our website if you just need a quick reference. It's on our website under resources under test my site. I've got 10 tests out there. 4 tests, 4 or 5 are the ones you're trying to do if you're doing speed. Who in here has tested your speed lately? Anybody? How was it? Was it okay? It's good? Not so good? So, the speed of your site isn't just based on the code, it's based on your servers. How fast are your servers? It's based on your plugins. There's a lot of data that goes into this. So, the cool thing about the left test is it actually tells your webmaster what to do. I mean, you're going to look at it and it's going to look like a bunch of mumbly-jumbly stuff, but your webmaster should look at it and go, oh, I see what they're saying. So it tells you what to fix over here. All right, because you really do not want your guests to get irritated and walk away. You've spent money and time and effort to get them there. You don't want to lose them. Okay, I'm going to move on to Google Hotel Ads. So, the little green bed. And I saw a bunch of hands out here that are doing the Google Hotel Ads. So, for those of you who don't know what a Google Hotel ad is, it looks like that little green bed. Now, if I was talking to a group of independent hoteliers with 100 rooms or more, there's a good chance that that little green bed gets to be your logo. But that's a whole nother program, and it's with companies that are outside of our industry. So we get the green bed. But if you see Holiday Inn or you see anybody else, that logo is going to be their logo. If you see a property logo, just know that it's a hotel ad. It's not an OTA ad. All right, so I am back into Google Travel, and you can see I'm under the prices section. And there's 2 sections in prices. There is the featured options, and there is the all options. The featured options are the paid Google Hotel ads or paid OTA ads. The ones at the bottom are the free ones, and you can see there's a free one in there. So I think all of the reservation systems here support Google Hotel ads. Talk to them and help them get you to set them up. At least get the free ones turned on. And then that is the free ones are not gonna show up in the knowledge panel, and this is what Jeff from Redstream and I were doing, and we were actually seeing them over here. The free ones were showing up only on mobile, not on desktop. So it does not hurt one bit to turn these on for free. It can help you. Now, if you wanna learn more about the Google Hotel ads, I got one more screen. There's a session I think tomorrow around 10, I think, that goes over Google Hotel ads. And then if you want to learn more about Google My Business, Andy Buck is teaching a class right after mine. He's going to talk more about the Google My Business, how do you log in, how do you write a post, how do you update it. So if you need more hands-on about Google My Business, that's after this. Okay, you're just not going to typically see the free Google Hotel ads, though I am seeing them on mobile at the moment, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay. These are the Google Hotel ads that are paid for, and they show up in the knowledge panel. So it's good to have them in the knowledge panel because then somebody can click on it and book. If they're not going all the way out to the travel system, at least try to be out here, but you gotta pay for this. All right. Now, we'll go back in here for a second. Those are which ones are the pink ones? Paid ones. And we have a paid listing. And these are and we have the free listing. And you can see that with the paid one, it's forcing the green bed out to compete with everybody else. So, why do we want a green bed? Well, A, you can compete against the OTAs and try to take back some of that business. B, if more and more of your travelers are using the right-hand side of the screen, why not give them a way to book right there? Just eliminate the competition, let them book directly with you. I mean, it does say official site. It has to say official site on the Google Hotel ads. It's kind of a draw for the guests. And it's also in maps. So inside of maps, if you do not have pricing, you get a bubble. But if you do have pricing, you're going to get one of the other icons. So if you're not doing your revenue management properly and passing your inventory, you're missing out in a lot of that right-hand side travel world. Okay? And I have a list. So this goes back to your Google Analytics. Remember when you go into Google Analytics and Google/organic is the left stuff and Google/whatever you name your website buttons, the right-hand stuff. These are all the different Google Hotel ads. And they're from 4 or 5 different booking engines, booking engines. The third one down, I think, is Think, and I think there's a Res Stream in here, there's a Res Nexus in here, and there's a Guest Centric. So every single booking engine seems to be tracking this differently. So if you turn it on, ask them what the refer is going to be so you can watch for it in your analytics. Okay? Okay. Google reviews, we're almost done. I just want to touch on Google reviews. Google has said they value all reviews, positive and negative, and in fact, they're saying that they think it's weird if you're perfect. So it's important to keep that in mind. So, I have questions. Do we have time for questions? Okay, I can take questions. Go ahead and pull them out. Okay, so first question, lady in the green. Yes, sorry.
Hello.
Gentleman in the green.
I was just looking at my Google Analytics and I just noticed
I would love to look at your analytics and see what's happening. I've heard of, but I don't know what's triggering it, so let's take a look. Well, I'm wondering if Google Hotel Ads opts you in. That may be an interesting find. Okay, question on the right.
So when you said about the minimum pay, for one room that eliminates space for the recommended, what happens to that room? Is that it keep you off?
Yes, and then you have to rethink, is it time to put another one or just leave it out? Other questions? In the back.
Could you, I typed in like the town that I'm in for hotel availability, and the first one has price, the next three don't. Why do the next three not have a price, because they're not open, or because they're not linked, or both?
What's the date at the top? What's your date?
February 20th,
And what night?
one night.
So if the only property in town has availability, you'll see pricing. The other three have not fed pricing to Google for that night. Now, they may have availability for 2 nights, but maybe not one.
So when you said before about the feeding them, there was the pricing, Google gets it from TripAdvisor, the OTAs, and what was the third one?
The Google Hotel Ads, the green beds.
Oh, and the app.
Yes, Google Hotel Ads. Other questions? Yes. Google Hotel Ads are, depending on how you install them, some reservation systems are pay-per-click, some reservation systems are pay-per-stay. So pay-per-click, you bid, you do bids against your competitors, the OTAs that are competing against you, but some reservation softwares, and I know the only one that I can think of is Vivo, but they have a flat rate, and they don't charge you unless they book it, and it's like 12%. So you gotta ask, how do you do this? Good question. And then behind, do we have another one? I saw a hand. No, no, okay. Anything else? Yes, sir. The OTAs should not be popping up in your meta space, but they might. Well, they shouldn't be, but they could possibly be behind the ad on the left. They're not supposed to do that. But if they do that, we need to know about it. Other questions? All right, you guys, thank you so much, and